Hello, it's Melinda from Scrapbooking and Craft. Just coming on today to do another process video. This is actually a folder that I started to decorate years and years ago and never got around to it, so I thought I might make it into a mini album, and I thought I might cover it with fabric and make it sort of a fabric cover. So this is just an off-cut of a sample I picked up somewhere. So what I'm going to do is, to get a nice flat coverage of the material, I'm actually going to use double-sided tape, and then on the edges I'm going to use a bit of hot glue. So while my hot glue gun heats up, I'm going to cover the back of this with double-sided tape. What I'll do is probably put you in fast forward through this and cut out some of it, because it's really boring to see me put sticky tape on. Yes, very boring for me, or for you to watch me put sticky tape on in real time. So I sped this up 4 times worth. I wish my hands would travel this thick, this quick. Tongue-tied tonight. So this 3M tape I'm using I actually picked up at a second-hand sort of recycle art store that I went to a few years ago. So it's very, very sticky, and I was having a bit of trouble getting it off. It is several years old, the sticky tape, and I'm trying to use it up because it's sort of losing its stick and not losing its stick, but getting really hard to get the backing off. So my mission this year is I've got a couple of large rolls of it and trying to use it up. So this is a perfect project for it. You'll see I'm trying to sort of burnish it with my hands and I get a credit card out to squash it down, and I find that really helps the sticky tape stick, and then the backing comes off it quite easily. So I wanted to coat the entire back with double-sided tape so the material didn't flop around or move. So this booklet is actually a really old booklet from a brand in Australia called Finmark, which is their trading name, or it's called Bella, B-E-L-L, and then it's got B-E-L-L-A, Bella, and then it's got like an exclamation mark at the end of the brand. So I actually had this in my retail store. I'm not going to admit how many years that is ago. If you can do math, you can work it out. I had this before Alexis was born, so if any one of you know how old Alexis is, you'll know how old the book is. So I'm trying to use up a lot of old stuff. This book was actually half done, and I found it in a whole box of stuff that I've pulled out since moving several times and trying to downsize my stuff and use it up this year. So this was actually one of my use it up projects. I actually started this in May last year, and only just getting it up to YouTube and finishing the editing now. I started to use it up box, which was a great concept until I moved house, and it just went astray. And you'll see the box in a minute when I go fluffing through it for embellishments. Basically, I put a whole bunch of old stuff in there and decided to see if I could use it up for the month, and then I was going to do a giveaway or something to the effect of anything I didn't use, just to get it out of my house. I may start that again this year. I just haven't got that organised. Seriously, it's so busy with Alexis at school, me doing some study, me working. Yeah, well, good plans go astray. Back to the project. So to get the corner, or to get this half circle done really neat, I've actually just cut many pieces, like fringed the material, and then stuck it down with hot glue to make it go around the corner, around the half circle really easily, and to make it nice and finished. I don't work with material a lot. I'm not a sewer, I'm a paper crafter background, so this really sort of pushed my sort of window, and I've done a little bit more fabric work since then, but I still prefer my paper. And my glue stick was playing up that day and putting loads on, so just making sure it closes. And I had strings everywhere, and I have bits everywhere. As I said, material's not my forte. So some more material here. These materials are from samples that I picked up again at this recycle art and craft store. They go into a lot of businesses and get their offcuts, and a lot of stores use their shop to buy stuff for classes, for primary schools and stuff, and you can go in and usually pay by the garbage bag. And depending on, you can buy a single garbage bag, or you can sign up and buy X amount per year and get them cheaper. But I haven't been down for several years. It is the other side of Melbourne, so it's a good 3-hour drive away, and I just haven't been back since. Nor have I used the stuff I've got, so not wanting to head back there. But if anyone's in the Melbourne area, it's in Bayswater. I can look up the web address or the actual address. I'm sure it's in Bayswater. That sounds familiar. But yeah, it's about 3 hours drive from where I am. So just putting this material on with hot glue and trying to squash the hot glue down so it's not lumpy. I'm burning my fingers a little doing that, and the silly glue stick won't come out. So having one of those days. For some reason my glue stick is playing up, and when you hit the trigger it's not taking a new glue stick. You put a new one in when the first one's nearly gone, and you have to basically shove it in really hard, probably up for a new one again. My glue gun does get a fair bit of a workout. So deciding how I'm going to do the end, really have no idea, thinking, and then I decide to trace around it in pen and then cut slightly inside the tracing around the shape, which worked really well. I tend to start these projects and have no idea where I'm going, and there'd probably be an easier way of doing it, but I do things the hard way, I suppose, in a lot of things. So just make sure it's stuck down really well. I like this idea of the book. It's a book and then it has the flap that closes over. So I like the concept of the little journal. So this was made for a friend's birthday. With great intentions of actually sending it to her, but it's still sitting in my stash this year, so I will have to send it out for this year's birthday, but we will get there eventually. So just trimming up all the sides, folding it lots and lots into position to crease the material and make sure it is going to close, and make sure that the folds in the cardboard have not got that much glue and that much tape over them that they don't actually work. So pulling out some laces. These laces are all vintage ones I got from an op shop. I don't tend to buy a lot from the op shops anymore. Things are getting very expensive. It's actually two close op shops to me, which is a Salvation Army and a St Vincent de Paul, and seriously, they're getting really expensive. Half the time you can actually go and buy what's in the op shop, or thrift store, you call them in America, for very close to the retail price in the shops, which is just ridiculous. I challenged them one day in the St Vincent de Paul and asked them why they were so expensive, and they said, well, if it's anything antique or oldie looking, we Google it on eBay, and then we put about 3/4 the price on it on eBay of what it sold for on eBay on auction in their op shop, which I think is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, I don't expect to pick things up for nothing, but, like, going off topic, aren't I? Just gluing down some lace to put over the spine, and gluing it down only under the solid parts of the lace so you can't really see it. And burning, that hurt my fingers a lot. I burnt it a lot. So I like how that turned out. Had no plans when I started. I just started sticking stuff on this, and we get there eventually. So then pondering again, what am I going to do? This is a bit of Chinese braid. I got that particular day from the op shop, I got a particular fairly big bag of offcuts for a reasonable price. But even the laces are getting ridiculously expensive in the op shops. I'm sure everyone's finding that. If you can find a locally owned op shop or not a major chain one, you have more of a chance of getting things at a reasonable price, which is good. But those ones aren't the close ones to me, so I don't get to them very often. So that's a bit of Chinese braid, so I liked how that went on the spine. Now this is my Use It Up box that I started in May last year, and decided to throw everything in there, and had this great vision of making things, and this would be my go-to box of getting stuff. So just going through and pulling out a whole bunch of stuff to use. Some stuff I end up using, some stuff I put back in the box. So I'm hoping this year I will get set up more, 2017, and start this concept again, having a box on my desk of bits and pieces to use up and use in projects and not open new stuff or go buy new stuff. We'll see how that works. It worked for a month last year till I moved house, and then, well, yeah, haven't got back to it. So these little Kaiser flourishes are actually got holly on them. So I'm cutting the little bits of holly off so I can use them as just the swirls and not the holly. So I play around a fair bit with the layout for what goes where, and I do actually cut this a lot out of the video because I just sat there and procrastinated, and I tend to do that. I will sit there and go, well, I put this and move things around 100 times before I'm entirely happy. So you'll see it jump in a minute, and then I come back and glue everything on. So that's a hint. If you've got swirls and things that are only a little bit Christmassy, you can use them for non-Christmas occasions by just making a few alterations and actually sticking them on non-Christmassy things. So gluing everything on now with my hot glue gun. I love how the front of the album turns out. I love the hot pink and the green against the very beige and white. It just needed that pop of colour. To me, it was too plain. I'm not a beigey whitey person. I'm more of a hot colour person. So these little pink flowers are actually brads, and I didn't want to stick the brad through the book, so I just snipped the back of the brad, the two prongs off, and just used them as embellishments and hot glued them on, and they worked very well. They do get a bit hot though. Watch gluing metal pieces with your hot glue gun because the heat does transfer through. But the end of my fingers don't feel a lot of heat anymore because I've burnt them that many times, it's not funny. So just adding a bit more of the swirls down so they don't come off. So just fixing up a bit of the material that I found that had little bits of holes in it. Just adding a bit of glue and sticking it down. So then I decided to decorate some in the middle by putting some lace and some flowers in as well. So the idea behind this was like a little notebook or a little journal that you can write in, and I make some papers that I explain a bit later on in the video. So the video will change again in a couple of minutes back to my box and decide to get some ribbon and thread through this piece of lace. So I wish I could thread it this quick, and I had trouble putting it through because it was all frayed, so I stuck a bit of glue on the end and sort of stiffened up the end of it, and away we went sticking everything through. So in hindsight I should have cut a lot of this out. Still learning with my editing. I think editing videos is always a learning process. So I like the soft pink coming into it as well. Sorry about the light going in and out. Don't know what was happening there. Probably clouds coming over. I find I'm having a lot of trouble with... That was dark again too. I'm not sure. It'll change again in a minute and try a totally different table setting. I enjoyed this project. It stretched me to my abilities, which is something I want to do this year in 2017. I want to extend what I'm doing and try new things and experiment a bit more. So just folding back the lace before I stick it on so it has a nice neat edge. It doesn't actually have a raw edge. So just folding it back on itself, that's probably the lazy way of doing it. If there's a lazy way, I'll work it out. So just working on positioning and where to put it. Oh, silly glue gun. That really annoys me some days. Some days it works perfectly and some days it just doesn't want to work at all. Sorry, don't know why it's going all dark. Lighting is my bugbear at the moment with trying to film videos. If you saw my tripod and light setup, you'd just hilariously laugh. I may show it to you one day. Um, so just adding a little flag or a little piece of flagged ribbon under the flowers, just to add a bit more of an accent. Trying to get to sit right was interesting. So playing with the rhinestones, I decide that I want to add some rhinestones to it, but procrastinate of where to add them. So these rhinestones are quite chunky, so they're good for this kind of project. Yeah, I'm drawing a line going, well, I'll do them across the bottom, won't I? And I decide I'll add them there. They're great for this project because they're quite lumpy. I tend to not use a lot of that lumpier stuff in my scrapbooking, and they were quite dimensional. So I decided to do a run of bigger, smaller ones. Then I'm just sort of auditioning, as people say in scrapbooking, if I want to put them anywhere else. And I don't think I decide I do. Sitting there procrastinating, looking at the inside, looking at the outside. I don't know how many times I have to look at the inside and the outside. But that's about done. I decide, do I want to put lace on the back? No. Auditioning a few more pieces. So I will leave it there. There's a couple more minutes of me procrastinating of what I'm going to do. Still trying to put those rhymes. I'm trying to use up the packet and get rid of the last 5. Because they're out of my use it up box, but I couldn't force them on there. So playing a bit more with the inside, just fixing up bits and pieces. So I'll leave you now, and I'll come back and show you the inside of the book and what pages I added to it. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the finished project.
Hello, it's Melinda from Scrapbooking and Craft. Just coming on to show a project share. You would have seen the first couple of videos of me putting this together, so I've sped those up and talked through it, and now I'll show you the completed journal. I made this quite a while ago for a lovely YouTuber for a birthday last year, and between moving house and packing up all my craft supplies, it sort of got lost. I rediscovered it the other day, and so I'm going to send it as a belated birthday present because I can. So you see me decorate. It was a little cardboard folder, so you see me decorate it all. What I'm actually doing as a closure is actually a headband, because I didn't know how to attach closures to here, and it's sort of my first sort of album like this. I may go and stick something over the silver clasp, or I may just leave it. She can take that off if she doesn't want it. I did have a beautiful hot pink one, but my daughter snaffled that. Alexis snaffled that and says, oh, I like the pink one. So I went with the green one. So it doesn't look that bad on the front. So the only thing I've done to it, apart from on the video, I did make this a while ago. So if there's something different to the video you've just seen, oops. But what I've done is just tea dyed some papers to go in the inside. First time I did some tea dyeing. And then I did some stamping just with some brown distress ink as well. So some of the tea dyed papers are just normal copy paper. Some of them are grid paper. There's a little envelope here. So I've only done like the loop binding, so this can be taken apart or used together. So some of the tea dyed, what I did was I stacked a load of paper, because I'm an impatient kind of person, on top of each other in the oven to dry, and then I picked the top one off, throw it up on top of the rack and wait a couple more minutes and kept opening the oven. So some of them have got these dark lines on them, which are really cool. Some of them, we also tea dyed some doilies as well. So some of them do have faint doily designs on them, but I stamped a couple of butterflies. The stamps that I used here are from a reject shop set that I got late last year. So this is the other half of the envelope. I got these, or the paper bag, I got those from a cheapie shop in Australia. So I love the texture of this. This, you can see this is the rack that I put it on in the oven. I've got the lines of the rack, which is really cool. So it's got 2 signatures in it, so you can see this is part of a square doily here. First time tea dyeing, so I did learn some things and didn't learn other things. I found it took way longer than I anticipated. I thought I was throwing them in the oven, a whole big tray for like 5 or 10 minutes, which I'd heard you could do on YouTube. But I had to keep picking the top layer off because it was sort of getting half dried and I didn't want it to, because it was a fan forced oven, I didn't want it to blow around and catch on fire. So there's the other half. This is the signature, another different bag that I picked up as well. This one must have been on the bottom, very tea dyed. So another little light flower. I stamped the light flowers and that in Distress ink, just in a nice neutral brown. So, oh, there I'm yawning, and seriously, every time I go to start a video, I start to yawn. What is with my body today? It hates me. Stain them really light, so they're there faintly, but then they don't take over. So this is just dilute binding, just with some cooking twine that I found at the supermarket. So another little stamp. This is gorgeous. I love this. So I might try. I haven't tea dyed from. This was made about 6 months ago. I haven't tea dyed again since then. Since then I've moved house and now I'm in a gas oven, so I'm a bit wary of wanting to tea dye it with the gas flame at the back. I have to be. Plus the oven is now on the floor, so I'll have to be a bit wary of that. But it was loads of fun doing it. Alexis and I was tea dyeing together. There we go, yawning again. Seriously. So this one must have been a bottom page as well because it's quite coated. And a butterfly in the back. So I believe you saw me do all this in the construction of the album. So it just sits in there. The signatures sit in there, and I've just got just little tassels that I've tied on the end. So that is it. I will send this off as a very, very, very belated birthday present, but I get there eventually. I thought I've made it. It's not something that I'd personally use. I'm not much of a writer. This one's more aimed at a writing journal. I'm not much of a writer. I prefer to slap paint and stuff everywhere. But I made it in the style of the lady that's going to receive it. So I thought she'd like it. I will stop yawning. Seriously. Seriously, I'm going to stop yawning. And I'll catch up with you again. Thank you for watching. And I may do some more stuff like this in the future. First time sort of covering an album with fabric, so I learned a bit there as well. Quite a few firsts on this album, but I really enjoyed how it turned out. I will chat to you again soon. Bye for now.